Thank you, Brother Chuck. I'm grateful. So I have bring greetings from Pakistan. While I was sitting, I remember, as Brother said, when John the Baptist, when he was in the prison, and he sent his disciples to Jesus, asking Jesus, "Are you the one, or will look for someone else?" Because John was in the prison, and in the hardships, many times doubts came. Fear grips your heart, and you cannot operate in the function because fear, hardships, and challenges grips you, and you cannot operate as God leads you. So John sent his disciples to Jesus, but what Jesus said, he replied in the Gospel of Luke chapter 17, and he said to the disciple, "Go and tell John that blind can see again. Tell him that the power of the gospel is setting people free. The power of the gospel is doing things that never history have seen before." So yes, Pakistan is one of the radical country, 98% Muslims, and jihad, which is one of the pillar in Islam, which teach you that you can put bombs in your body in the name of Allah. And if you blew yourself, if you kill yourself, you will worship God and you will go directly at the throne of God. So in that darker situation, I can tell you, God's light is shining bright in the darkness. The light of Christ is setting people free. I was talking to Sister Helen and Brother Chuck, it came in my mind, and I want to testify. And we were just building this relationship, and because of the credibility of WMA, they have asking me questions and so forth, and we are building relationship. But we prayed, and they said we will pray, and then we will see how the God will lead us. And they had, I remember they had a plan for another nation. And they planned for next year. But, another opening came up. And, God sent them prior to their plan, because it is not our plan, it is God's plan. Amen. And so, as brother said, I just here to share with you. First of all, thank you, World Mission Alliance, to standing with us to take the gospel to the tribes where people have never heard the gospel. Pakistan, as I said, 98% are Muslims. World's 5th largest country in the world. 98%, people have never heard the gospel. And in that region, God is using us, since last 23 years to spread the gospel. When we said, there is lot of freedom, but in our constitution of Pakistan, there is a law which called blasphemy law. And the blasphemy law is that you cannot speak anything against Muhammad or Prophet Muhammad or against the Quran. But nobody talk about that. But, when Christians talk about Jesus, many times Muslims, falsely accuse Christian for the blasphemy. Because when Christians talk about Jesus, Jesus is even higher in Quran. Jesus is the born from virgin. Jesus have raised the dead. Jesus lives a sinless life. His name is the Word of God. His name is the Spirit of God. And He is coming back again. That all talk about Jesus in Quran. And when they ask about Muhammad, he did nothing rather than his multiple wives. So they have nothing. They have nothing to talk about. So when we share Jesus even from Quran, they falsely accuse Christians, and that ended up attack on Christians. Homes have been burned. I think just last year, one torn page of Quran was at somebody's gate, and the person was totally illiterate. He don't know, is it Arabic? Is it Urdu? Is it English? Is it Spanish? No way he understand anything. But, the mob came and they said, you have blasphemy the Quran. And, they start beating that person. In fact, they killed him and destroyed 100 homes and 26 churches in one day. Just because of the false accusation of blasphemy law. And in 2005, God gave me this dream to start Christian television. I don't know about America, but in Pakistan, God gave us this strategy that this is the most effective way to reach the Muslim world with the gospel. And in 2009, we just began our broadcast from the city of Karachi, which is the city of 25 million people. And we were sharing the gospel. And do you know that the gospel of Jesus still set people free? The gospel still carries the power. There is no book in the world that have that power, Brother Chuck. Only the gospel of Jesus. So people were coming to Christ. One of the extremist Taliban's youngest son, he gave his life to Lord in 2013. And the Taliban threatened us. They said, we will kill you. We will burn your station. And on November 2015, 3 a.m., the Taliban came and they bombed our station. Everything turned into ashes. Everything completely gone. And the dream of reaching the Muslim world is now in the flames. I was standing there, the BBC, New York Times, Pakistani media, they all were standing here. And at 3 a.m., after 4 hours, the fire brigade cleared our facility and we were stepping. We were crying. We thought, now the dream to reach whole nation is gone. But God spoke to us while we were crying. God spoke to us. November 26, 2015. If you will, sister was talking about Google. If you will Google it, you will find that. New York Times, many newspapers, God spoke to us. He said, Pakistan, a valley of dead bones will be rise again. That is the word from heaven. That time, every day, there was a suicide attack. Hundreds of people were dying because of these suicide attacks in 2015, 16, 17, and 18. But we know when God spoke, His word will never come back without bringing fruit. So the peace have been restored in Pakistan. We are seeing the things God, never happen in history. So when I was talking to Brother Chuck and Sister Helen, I told them, now when you will come to Pakistan, you will see a totally different nation. Terrorism has been reduced. The peace have been restored. And, many of us who was there, you see that, how the hunger for Jesus is in Pakistan. So we are reaching to the unreached tribes. And satellite television is one of the way, but since last 3 years, God have opened our eyes to see how much powerful tool the medical missions could be. We build orphanage, we do have many ministry tools to reach the lost, because there are a big harvest in Pakistan. But I just wanted to tell you, in these 3 years, let's say we have reached 20 tribes in last 10 years. But in these few years, our reach to the unreached tribe have been multiplied. We were impact more unreached tribe with the gospel like we did before, because now we have this medical unit and this medical tool to share good news of Jesus Christ with the people group. They have never heard the gospel. For example, we were praying for one tribe. His name is Bheel tribe. If you will Google BHEEL, it's about 1.6 million people in the province of Sindh where we live. They have never heard the gospel. And in last year, when Brother Chuck and medical team came, we were in a Marwari tribe, and we were, sharing the gospel. People were accepting Jesus. Miracles was taking place. But we were trying to go to the Bheel tribe, and they drove almost 2.5 hours to come in our medical camp. And when they drove, the time and the token were finished. Because Brother Chuck is very disciplined. He gave the tokens before. So I came back to him. I said, Brother Chuck, this brother have drove his motorcycle for 2.5 hours, and he never been to doctor. He is sick, and there are 2 people. Can you please, give this favor? And he said, yes, bring them. So the medical team treat them, they pray with them, and this brother took the medicine and he went back. But you know what God have done? He was completely healed. He was, and the tribe that was closed for the gospel, now that tribe is open for the gospel. I was just shared with Brother Chuck. Now, when you will coming in 2026, we will go and reach another tribe with the gospel, Bheel tribe, and that tribe have never knew Jesus before. 1.6 million people in the province and the tribe of Bheel are still waiting for the manifestation of the sons and daughters of God. We were talking about missions, but I am here to tell you, I was in the most darker regions of Pakistan. At the border between Pakistan and Afghanistan, we serve there. We have a school. We are reaching to the Muslim. I knew imams, the imam of the mosque. They are sharing Bible stories from inside of the mosque, and they are taking the gospel to Afghanistan. So I just want to tell you that the harvest is ready. I am grateful that Brother Chuck and WMA have said yes to the call of God. In this world, 1.4 billion Muslims have no access to the gospel. Church is not doing what they have called to do. Fear, our own comfort zone have blocking us to reach to the people group. They have never heard the gospel. Yes, we are going, but we are going to those who have heard the gospel prior to that. But look at this 1.6 million people. Go and search Beel tribe. And that door God have opened because of Brother Chuck's yes to that man who drove 2.5 hours on his motorcycle. There was no roads. It is difficult. But I can tell you, what God is doing. Another powerful tool that we see is really in strengthening and opening the door for the gospel, is water wells. We drills water well. We give food. In fact, when Brother Chuck and team came at our orphanage, children were getting sick because, there was no heaters and, some bags because of their school. And, the brother WMA supported us for that. But, just I want to take this minute and just do this closing thought with you. That the water well is not just providing them water. When I don't know, many of you have been not to the poorest region, like some of you were. There is no electricity. There is muddy homes, and there is no water. In 2006, when we began to reach these tribes, many times we heard they closed the doors. They said, we don't want any Christian or Muslims. Because when Muslims came to share the gospel, what they do, they take their young girls as their third and fourth wife. So, they said, we don't want Christians, we don't want Muslims. But we told them in 2006, when we came, we see these girls as our daughters, as our sisters, and it took time for us to build the trust, but it began by drilling a water well. Children were dying. They have no access to the clean water, and we said, we will help you. We will share the love of Jesus without taking anything, because Jesus have said, you have received freely and give freely. So we did that. And when we drilled the water well, it opened the door for the gospel. And we don't have to preach the gospel. We are the gospel. We carry the message of love. So when our team goes, they pray for people. Like we were hearing, Sister Mindy, Sister Marsha, and all of the team, they know when they pray, God opened the doors. He healed people because we serve a living God. So the water wells is opening the door. And I know WMA is known for medical missions and evangelism. But this is my humble request. Stand with us. Pakistan is ready for the harvest. Pakistan is waiting for you. But we believe together we can win millions of lives for our King Jesus. So I am very excited, and I am a preacher, so I can talk too much, but just think about that. You will take a step of faith, and He will open the door.
Thank you.